Cloud computing is one of the most overhyped technology solutions in history. Cloud adoption in Canada has slowed somewhat because of the confusion in the marketplace. Many customers are asking what kinds of hardware solutions are optimal for the cloud. We asked our two debaters. Let's see what they have to say.
Well, when we're looking at hardware for the cloud, it's interesting because we're actually reducing the on-premise hardware. The key components that's left on the client site is two components. One, your firewall from a security standpoint, making sure that your facility is still secure because you still have all your users left behind connecting to the internet or to the cloud in some fashion. And the other component is your connection back to the cloud or the data center, which it really is. So it's important that you either look at one or two levels. If you're a larger enterprise, you look at working with a corporation that can supply you fiber. And then a very good SLA, so a service level agreement on that fiber connection. So if you did lose connectivity back to the cloud, they would promise it being back up within hours typically. Okay. Or if you're a smaller business, we typically will look at supplying two solutions, like a DSL solution from one of the phone companies along with a cable solution for connectivity. Use a firewall that we can do failover, so now you have two internet connections that can, if one goes down, you fail over. So those are really your two key components as far as hardware when you're looking at moving to the cloud.
Wow. That's a huge question because to me, I've always, ever since this term cloud has come along in the IT world, I've thought back to my childhood when time sharing was really what a cloud was. So how does a customer prepare themselves? Several ways. First of all is network. You want to make sure that you as an organization have the bandwidth to get out to that cloud. You have the ability to, in the case of some of our customers, which are larger enterprise type customers, they want to be able to offload additional capacity requirements. So off to EC2 as an example, the Amazon EC2. So to do that, you need to have the network bandwidth to make it work. Network bandwidth is one component, then having the ability to utilize that network bandwidth properly and allocate it to the right resources. So having the right management tools in place, having the right provisioning tools in place, etc. And then the other component of it is really, the more that you push off to the cloud, the less you really require on your end. But the reality is that you also want to have the ability to run certain things locally. So really in that hybrid model, having your own cloud. So once again, you want to make sure that you have the redundancy built into your environment so that if something happens and you're working locally, you want to be able to fail over to that cloud very easily. So you want to have the availability features. Those are really, to me, the two key areas. How a client prepares themselves for it, or how an end user prepares themselves for it, is really a question of how you budget and how you allocate the funding that you have available to you when you look at your costs. The reality is your costs may or may not decrease, but they certainly should not increase. They should, at bare minimum, remain stable across the board. So you need to have the right financial model to make that work.